This was a DNF, so it's immediately gonna go in should have stayed in the draft. I don't even want you to try again. Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. I love ranking things, and I decided why not rank every single sapphic book I have ever read. And I don't have a lot. I think it's about 48 books since 2020 to 2022. So we have a pretty substantial amount. It's not impressive, but it's also not meager. We have a good amount of books here. But before we get started, I'll just give you a rundown of the books that are going to be featured. So this is going to include anything with a sapphic main character, whether the focus is their sexuality or not. I also included multiple POV books if there are sapphic characters with a POV and they are a part of the main cast. And I also debated on whether or not to add books where they're with a man or they end up with one, and I kept going back and forth, so I just decided to throw them in there and I'll tell you which ones they are, because you never know, somebody might be looking for that book. I'm just looking at my notes here if you see me looking down. This is going to include YA, adult, fantasy, contemporary, romance, thriller, historical and literary fiction, sci-fi and paranormal, etc. I really just be reading anything, so there are a lot of genres and a lot of different age groups in this, and I will let you know which ones are YA and which ones are adult. Oh my god, I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. So last thing I'm going to say is some of these are more tame and innocent than others, so as always be sure to check the trigger warnings because there are some pretty fucked up books on this list. Okay, so I have my computer right here and I'll just go through the categories and explain quickly what they mean. So the first one is change the trajectory of my life forever and I want to die. I had two specific books in mind for this category and you'll find out which ones they are soon enough. So the first category is pretty much these books mean so much to me, but they also bring me so much emotional pain, but I love them and I will always love and cherish them. The next one is no words, and in parentheses I have so much to say because these are the books where I love them so much but I don't know how to talk about them. It's like you love something and you could spend hours talking about it, and then there's others where you love it and you're like, there's no words. Like, I love them so much I don't have the words to describe how strongly I feel about them. They're kind of interchangeable, where I feel pretty much the same way about all of the books in both of these categories. The third category is something fun for the kids, and these are also really good books that I've enjoyed. They're not necessarily my favorites, or even if they're my favorites, they're just like really fun, lighthearted reads where it's not too emotional. There's like a great balance of funny, silly, goofy with maybe a tad bit of angst, so it's not like super emotional, but I love them and I think they're great. And these are books that I've also either rated 4 to 5 stars, so they're just as good. They're just not like, they don't pack an emotional punch, but they're still fun. And I say for the kids, there are going to be adult books in this, so I don't necessarily literally mean for kids, but you know, just as a matter of speaking, it's just something fun for the kids. When you're tired of all the emotional and dark and fucked up shit that you've been reading and you're like, you know what, I need something fun, this is where these books are going. The fourth category is not a fave, but it's a classic, and these are books that I've read but I haven't necessarily liked. I didn't really enjoy them, so they're not a favorite, but I do recognize the merit, and this is whether they're a classic officially or not. This one, DPDMC, which stands for deranged, psychotic, demonic, mind control.
Deranged, psychotic, demonic, mind controlled.
And then slash, it's cunt. How can you not say cunt?
How could you not say cunt? Like, that's cunt. Like,
and this category can either be derogatory or complimentary, and I will let you know which ones I mean in a bad way and which ones I mean in a good way. I don't think a lot of them are gonna make it into this category. The second to last category is flavorless but not terrible. So these are books that I did not enjoy at all. There was no ounce of enjoyment while I was reading it, but I would still recommend it to somebody, and I still see some merit because it wasn't completely bad. There were just some things that didn't work for me, and maybe I didn't get what I expected. And then the last category is try again slash should have stayed in the drafts. This, I think, says all it needs to say. Alright, now that we've got all the categories out of the way, we can now officially get started. So these are all of the books that I have, and I counted them, and it's 46 books. I'm just gonna go in the order that they're in. So the first one is One of the Good Ones by Maritza and Maika Moonlight. I loved this book. It made me sob like a baby. It talks about race, religion, police brutality, blackness, having religious parents while being gay. It's just really good. It's a really good book, and it was able to deliver that in about 300 pages, and I think it's so impressive and it's so underrated. Not enough people talk about this book, and I don't understand why. It's such a good book. Like, please read it. This is one of the multiple POV ones, and I'm gonna put that in Change the Trajectory of My Life Forever and I Wanna Die. Also, this cover is gorgeous. I mean, come on now. The next one is She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan, and I'm gonna put this on something fun for the kids. This is a YA rom-com, enemies to lovers, sports. I mean, this is like a trifecta. It's just pure fun, good teenage drama, and if that's something that you're looking for, something really lighthearted that you can breeze through, She Drives Me Crazy is perfect. I love this book. The next one is The Miseducation of Cameron Post by Emily M. Danforth. I can't really see the author's name on the cover, so if I mess up, that's why. This is one of the books that I was thinking of when I made the first category, so I'm gonna put it right there. I wrote essays. I literally wrote essays on this book. Cameron Post is my baby. She is my daughter. I just wish her nothing but amazing things in life. Like, she deserves everything good in life. It did make me want to die. Yeah, after reading it. It is a YA book, but it deals with conversion therapy. Major trigger warnings. It's a lot. There's a lot that goes on in this book. The next one is Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. This one is not a fave, but it's a classic. So this is one of the books that I didn't really like. It's just something about it. I just didn't feel connected to the story. After I finished it, it was kind of meh to me. Next one is Malice. Ooh, by Heather Walter. Malice is gonna be in Something Fun for the Kids. This is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, so I don't remember much from the first book, but I do remember loving it. It ends with a bang, and I liked it. It's great. Next one is The Gilda Stories. This was a huge disappointment. I don't remember my rating. I think it was like a 2 stars, maybe 2.5 or 3 stars even. But this is basically about a black sapphic vampire in like the 1920s. I don't know. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember. I am going to put it in Try Again / Should Have Stayed in the Drafts. It just annoyed me for various reasons. I have a review of it on Goodreads, and I'll link that below if you want to check it out. When I first heard about this, I thought the concept was so good, and I expected so much more than what I got. It was just a lot of ambiguity, and I didn't like that. It was a lot of ambiguity on every aspect that I was looking forward to. It just didn't serve. It was just way too vague for me. Yeah, The Gilda Stories needs to try again. Moving on, The Deep by Rivers Solomon. I like this, actually. This is one of those books where you kind of get it after the fact. Like, you have to finish it and then let it marinate for a few days or a few weeks, and then you're like, oh, okay, I see what was going on. So this was a pretty weird book, but as I kept thinking about it, I think it's such a great concept. This is pretty much a reimagining. Basically, the concept is if the slaves that were dumped overboard during the transatlantic slave trade had evolved and become mermaids, and this is basically about their stories and their trauma. It's kind of like The Giver, where they give all of the memories to one person and they have to keep all of that to themselves. They have to keep all the history, all the memories, all the trauma to themselves so that the rest of the population can live happily and freely. And it talks a lot about history, the importance of knowing your history, but also knowing when to not necessarily forget it, but be able to move on from it as a whole. I think it's an important book, so I'm gonna put it as not a fave, but it's a classic. Next up, we have This Is How You Lose the Time War. Oh wow, absolutely love this book, but I have no idea how to talk about it, so it's gonna go in no words. In parentheses, I have so much to say. I also have a full review on Goodreads of this book, which will be linked down below. This is like a post-apocalyptic sci-fi time traveling sapphic Romeo and Juliet type of, I don't know. I really don't know how to describe this book. It's literally in the no words category for a reason, but just know I love it. If you love poetry, love letters, Claire's extravagant, eccentric writing and declarations of love. Read this book. It's super short. You might not understand everything that's going on, but I think overall, if you pay attention, you'll get the gist of it. And honestly, the romance alone is worth reading this book. Like, even if you ignore all the time traveling and the sci-fi elements, this is a beautiful book. I think it is so well written. Check it out. The next one is The Atlas 6. This is one of the books where there are multiple male love interests. I put the self-published cover here because this is the one that I read. I didn't really like this book, so it's gonna go in Try Again. Maybe should have stayed in the drafts, actually. This book is a whole lot of nothing. The next one is After Love. I'm gonna put this in Try Again. This book was so boring. It was very insta-love. I think they met on a school trip, and then immediately on that same trip they were like, in love, do you want to be my girlfriend? Okay. I feel like this could have been fleshed out a lot more. The first half of the book is like a completely different book from the second half. I think it was still in the rough draft state. Anyways, Fevered Star by Rebecca Rowan Horse. This is the second book in a series, so I'm actually gonna take Black Sun here, the first book in this series, and I'm gonna put that in first. I don't actually know where to put it, because I would put it in something fun for the kids, because I don't think it's up there. I don't think it's up there with the first two categories, but it also doesn't feel right to put it in something fun for the kids because it's not a really fun book. A lot of shit happens and it's very gruesome, so it's not fun. But I really like this. I really like the sapphic character in this book. Her name is Shala. This is one of the books where she has a male love interest, and I really loved her in the first book. If we're rating the book as a whole, I feel like it would be no words. I have so much to say. If we're rating the sapphic content, maybe flavorless, but not actually no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna put Black Sun in. Wow, this is so hard actually. No words. I'm gonna put it in no words because I feel like this is such a beautifully and intricately crafted world, and the author did amazing having all of these different people and all of these different pieces of the board just move towards this big giant plot, and the first book was really amazing. Alright, now we can move on to Fevered Star. And Fevered Star was a huge disappointment in terms of the sapphic character because she's completely stripped of her personality. Like, I felt like this entire book, everything about her revolved around her love interest. It is a good book overall. Like, I overall enjoyed it mainly because my interest sort of shifted. So in Black Sun, I really liked Shala, which is one of the POVs in this book, and I pretty much didn't like anybody else, honestly. I liked Narampa, who is one of the gods in this world, but I feel like there was a lot of growth that needed to be had. So in Fevered Star, it kind of flipped, where I didn't really like Shala's character, and I really liked Narampa because there was a lot of growth. There was a lot of character development. For Shala, I feel like her entire arc revolved around Serapio, and I didn't like that. Every time Shala had a chapter, she was talking about Serapio, and she was thinking about what she can do for him and how she can help him. And pretty much any aspirations that she had in the first book was completely forgotten for this man, and all of a sudden she became his #1 fan. Obviously, support your man, whatever, but there was nothing else there. Everything about her character arc in this book revolved around Serapio, and I hated that, especially because I don't really like Serapio and Shala together. I don't think they really have that much chemistry. I'm gonna rate it as a book overall instead of the one sapphic character because I don't think that's fair to the book. So I'm still gonna put it in no words. I have so much to say just because I can't put it in something fun for the kids. But in terms of the sapphic character, which is the entire reason why this book is even featured here, I did not like that her entire character arc from book 1 was forgotten. I felt like the story just didn't treat her right. It just treated her in terms of what she could do for Serapio. With that, I'm gonna stop talking about this book. The next book is Good Enough to Eat. I actually don't remember reading this. I think I was looking for sapphic vampire books, and this is what I stumbled on, and I read it. It was fine. It started out great, and then towards the end I was like, what the fuck am I reading? Like, come on. So I'm gonna put put it in flavorless but not terrible because I think it's a pretty good time for the first half. Just the ending was kind of ridiculous. The next book is The Matchmaker. This one too, I would say the same thing. This is flavorless but not terrible. I think it had some cute elements and it was fine. I barely even remember the story. The next one is Our Wives Under the Sea. I gave this book 2 stars. It bored me out of my fucking mind. I literally had to force myself to finish it, and if I didn't have the audiobook, I probably wouldn't have finished it. This is categorized as horror, and I feel like if the author had expanded more on that, I would have liked it more. The deep sea is my worst nightmare. I know it's scary. You don't have to tell me that it's scary, but I didn't feel that fear. I didn't feel the horror. Maybe I should wait until I'm 30 to reread this, because I saw this book on Instagram for like books to read in your 30s. So maybe I need to live more in order for this book to click for me. As of right now, it's a hard miss. So I'm gonna put it in try again. The next book is The Dark Wife. This is a sapphic Persephone and Hades retelling. And I'm gonna put it in not a fave, but it's a classic just because I liked it. Next one is Ironheart by Nina Varela. This is the second book in the Crier's War duology. I'm just gonna get Crier's War first right here. I liked Crier's War and this is YA. I'm gonna put it in something fun for the kids. At the end of the day, it's just fun reading something in a fantasy setting with a sapphic love story at the center of it. Same thing for Ironheart. I'm gonna put it over there as well, something fun for the kids. The next one is The Midnight Lie, and I'm gonna put this in flavorless but not terrible. This book was just boring. For a fantasy, it was very boring because nothing happened. There were no vibes. The next one is The Color Purple. Wow, by Alice Walker. I'm gonna put The Color Purple in Change the Trajectory of My Life Forever and I Want to Die. It's a modern classic. If you haven't read it yet, literally what are you waiting for? Go read it. I love this book. And it should probably be in no words. I have so much to say. But it also did change the trajectory. You see how I'm saying these are interchangeable? I feel the same for all of these books in both of these categories, except for Black Sun and Fevered Star. But yeah, I think no words, I have so much to say, fits for The Color Purple. So I'm gonna put it over there since I really can't find the words. The next book is The Abyss Surrounds Us. This goes in something fun for the kids. This is fantasy, pirates, giant water creatures that you can ride. It's a good time. The next one is The Space Between Worlds. Oh my god. Oh my god. This one immediately goes in Change the Trajectory of My Life Forever and I Want to Die. This book is so amazing. It is so well crafted. The world building, the characters, the romance. If you're looking for like sapphic pining, yearning, this is like the epitome of sapphic yearning. I went on and on and on and on about this book in my best books of 2021 video. Link in the description. Go check that out if you want to hear me ramble about this book for like 10 minutes straight. The next book is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. This one, finally, this is the book that I had in mind when I thought of this category. Deranged, psychotic, demonic mind control. And I mean this in a bad way. Not because the book was bad, it's just so deranged and gross and weird and disgusting and vile. I gave it 3 stars, so I did to some extent. I don't want to say I enjoyed it, but I was intrigued. I was interested. I wanted to know more. It's a fairly short book, and I think in my review I did say that after having read all of this disgustingness, I wish I had gotten closure. So I did want more out of the story. Let's move on. Next one is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. Legends and Lattes goes in something fun for the kids. This is a cozy fantasy for the most part. There are low stakes. Overall, it's just really great vibes. Turns out I can't close the blinds, otherwise it's gonna be hella dark in here. So we'll just have to deal with this. My camera stopped recording. We were talking about Ace of Spades. I only put it in something fun for the kids because I don't think it fits in the first 2 categories. I love this book, but there is nothing fun about it. The next one is The Falling in Love Montage. This book was okay. I feel like it started out strong and then sort of fizzled out towards the end, but I still liked it, so I'm gonna put it in something fun for the kids. The next book is Carmilla. Carmilla goes in not a fave, but it's a classic. sake. I think this one is because the writing was so dense. There were some parts where I literally did not know what was happening, but I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it. I think I gave it a 3.5, and I do want to reread it at some point. And it's also the first vampire book ever recorded. Before Dracula, there was Carmilla. I don't know why I just said it like that. Next up, we have The Afterword. The Afterword, like the title suggests, is pretty much the aftermath of the entire fantasy quest. Some shit does go down towards the end of the book, but overall, we pretty much already know what happened. We just go through the quest in flashbacks. So if you want something low stakes with a sapphic couple at the forefront of it, definitely get The Afterword. I'm gonna put it in something fun for the kids. And I think this one is dual POV too, and it's YA. The next book is How to Make a Wish by Ashley Herring Blake. I'm gonna put this in something fun for the kids. It's a really cute coming of age story. I think it would make a really good coming of age movie. I put it in something fun for the kids, but this book is pretty sad. It's not like terribly sad, but it's very angsty. The romance didn't really do a lot for me, but I did really like the story and I love the main character, so I definitely recommend. This is also YA. The next one is Just My Type, and again, this is when I was looking for more sapphic vampire reads, and it's one of those trashy novels that doesn't take itself too seriously. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember a single thing that happened in this book, but I gave it a 4 stars and I remember really liking it, so I'm gonna put it in something fun for the kids. The next one is Aurora's Angel. Aurora's Angel. Where can I put Aurora's Angel? Something fun for the kids. I think I'm gonna put Aurora's Angel in No Words because I love this book. I did have a few problems with it, but overall I just had so much fun with it. If you liked Angel Fall and you're looking for like the sapphic equivalent, Aurora's Angel is literally right there. And I'm not saying the story is exactly the same. There are actually 2 different stories, but in terms of how the story begins, it does bring you back to the Angel Fall world. It's just as bloody, just as descriptive, just as horrific. So check the trigger warnings. This is an adult book and there are a few smut scenes. This is a few hours later. The sun is gone. It's a little bit darker. I can't fix that, so I apologize, but I will literally be like a tiny bubble on the side of a screen, so it's not that big of a deal, hopefully. The next book is They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This one immediately goes in How Can You Not Say Cunt. I loved this book, so I do mean that in a good way. Yeah. How can you not say cunt? I'm sorry, but it is. To me, it's a Jennifer's Body and Killing You Slay. The next book is A Dowry of Blood. Loved this book. Obsessed with this book. This is an adult book and it features a polyamorous relationship. There are 2 women and 2 men. This book is an effortless slay, so it goes into change the trajectory of my life forever and I want to die. Now I maybe don't want to die, but it did change the trajectory of my life forever. For someone who's obsessed with vampires, this book, I feel like it was specifically made with me in mind, and I love that. There is a novella for this book and it does also feature the other 2 women in the relationship, but it's mainly focused on the guy, so that's why it's not on here. But I would also recommend checking that out because it's really good too. So the next book is Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, and I'm immediately putting this in deranged, psychotic, demonic mind control / how can you not say cunt. It's very fitting for this book because the main character says cunt a lot. This is one of those fucked up books as well. Any sort of trigger warnings around the sun, this book probably has it. Don't recommend it to anyone. Read it at your own risk. Don't say I sent you to read it, but I loved it. So I do mean to put this in this category in a good way. Next up we have Honey Girl. I'm gonna put Honey Girl in flavorless but not terrible, just because I found this to be kind of boring. I didn't really connect with any of the characters. There's just a lot of things that didn't work for me. I didn't think there was any chemistry between the main character and the love interest. I regard this more as a coming of age story than a romance because it's more so about the main character Grace kind of figuring out what she wants to do in her life and where she wants to go, and I liked it because it's a coming of age about someone who's in their late 20s, and you don't really see coming of age stories for that age group. Apparently you just never stop coming of age, which fucking sucks. Adulthood is not great. So Honey Girl, flavorless but not terrible. As I said before, romance romance didn't really work out for me, and it was marketed as a romance, so I went into it expecting a lot from the romance and I didn't really get that much from it, but I do think it has some merit with Grace's personal individual journey. The next one is Not My Problem. I'm gonna put this on something fun for the kids. This book was really funny. A lot of people compare it to Dairy Girls on Netflix, and the comparison is spot on. Like, if you want Dairy Girls in book format, read this book. Tell me how you really feel. This was a DNF, so it's immediately gonna go in should have stayed in the draft. I don't even want you to try again. This book was so bad, I couldn't do it. I rarely DNF books. I think I got 12% into it and I had a huge amount of criticism for it. It's about these two characters, if I remember correctly. One of them is a cheerleader, the other one is a photographer, and the photographer was so negative. Like, her attitude was so rancid. There was no way for me to root for them to get together because of how brutal she was to the other character. And for no reason too. For something that happened 4 years ago, for like a complete misunderstanding that she made up in her mind. And that happened 4 years ago and she's still holding on to that shit. Whereas the other character has no fucking clue why she hates her so much. The entire time I was reading it, I was like, I think you know how she really feels, okay? She's been telling you how she really feels, and I think you don't need that in your life, okay? Just pack it up, move on, go somewhere else. So DNF, probably will never go back to this. Sorry. The next book is Something Like Love, and this is a part of a series. I had already started reading it when I found out it was part of a series. It's like the 4th book, but I think people have said that you can read them interchangeably, and I'm not about to read 4 books just to get to this one because it's the only one that I was interested in reading. This one actually follows a male-female relationship, but they're both bisexual, so it's still kind of gay a little bit, if you know what I mean. If you know, you know. There's just something about it that didn't work for me. I didn't really connect with them. I didn't connect with the story. I thought it could have been great, but ultimately, I don't know why, we just didn't mesh well together. I'm gonna put it in flavorless, but not terrible. I think it's just a me problem, because honestly, there wasn't anything immensely wrong with it. The personalities didn't work for me. Next one is The Edge of the Abyss. This is the sequel to The Abyss Surrounds Us, right here. And this one is gonna go right here, actually. This sequel was so fucking annoying, and I honestly think it wasn't even needed. I hate when a sequel renders the ending of the first book completely pointless, because I was already feeling a little on the fence about how the first book ended. So now for the sequel to come in and tell me that it didn't even need to happen, that just pisses me off. Like, now I'm mad. There was just a lot of things that annoyed me about it, especially the romance. They were fighting the entirety of the book, but I feel like a lot of their conflict made no sense, and it could have been resolved like fairly easily if they just sat down and used this. It was just pointless to me. What are you fighting about? What is the beef? Anyway, the next book is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I'm gonna put this one in not a fave, but it's a classic. Again, didn't really work for me, didn't really connect that much with the story, didn't really like it, but a lot of people are always recommending it and a lot of people seem to love it, so it's a classic. So I'm gonna put it over there. Next one is Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating. This is flavorless, but not terrible. This book was so... What word can I use? It was so somber. There was not an ounce of joy in this book, at least to me. Maybe towards the end, but like the entirety of the book, there was not an ounce of joy that I could extract from reading it. Hani and Ishu, the two main characters, really felt more like friends than romantic partners, and I feel like it might have been a better story if they had been friends. It's not like a bad book, I just didn't enjoy it. That's my verdict. Now we're down to the last 4 books. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is immediately going to change the trajectory of my life forever. This and Cameron Post were the 2 books I thought of when I made this category. The feeling that I had when I closed these books was like, wow, so much pain. Evelyn Hugo is a classic. Everyone has read this or heard of it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. That's where it belongs, and that's where I'm gonna put it. Misrule by Heather Walter, and this is the last book in the Malice duology. This one was good. It may have a few mixed reviews, but honestly, personally, I loved it. This is one of those fantasies where there was nothing really going on. There was just so much conflict, so much betrayal, manipulation, but also devotion and love and like the lengths someone will go to for somebody that they love, no matter how misguided it may be. I loved it. Like, I ate that shit up. I'm sorry if you didn't like this book, you just didn't get it. Like, the girls that get it, okay? And I got it. I love a good betrayal. I'm sorry, especially when it's done well and it makes sense. And it was betrayals left and right from everybody. Like, nobody was safe, and I really enjoyed that. It was mostly a lot of political conflict, and I think it came to a beautiful conclusion. It was very immersive. There was a lot to think about in this book, and I think it did that really well. Everything was justified. Maybe sometimes it really wasn't, but it really showed humanity. I guess that's what I want to say. Humanity. Warmth. With all that rambling, I'm gonna put Misrule as something fun for the kids, because I also really did have fun reading this book. The second to last one is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, and this is one where the main character ends up with a man. It is dual POV, but it does follow Danny Brown's story, so I put this in there. This is gonna go in something fun for the kids. This is an adult book, just like most of these in this category. It's just fun and lighthearted. Now, the last book on our list is The Lila Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Let me tell you something, I love this book. This book was fun. Like, I want to live in this book. That's how much fun I had. It had me laughing, giggling, twirling my hair, keeping my feet up, all of that. So it's gonna go in something fun for the kids because that's what it was. I had a great time. As soon as I finished it, I wanted to get back into the world immediately. This book was really cute. It made me want my own small town romance. Does Claire wear too many polka dots? Maybe. Was it a little corny? Yeah, maybe. But honestly, with romance, you gotta pick your battles, okay? And it wasn't overly corny. I don't think there was anything particular where I was like, oh, this is too much. Overall, it was just good fun. There we have it. This is our completed list of tier ranked sapphic books. This was fun. At least it was fun for me. I hope you had fun, and I hope I can do this again. This is probably not the last time I'm gonna do this. I'll probably do a part 2 once I've read more books. Hopefully you got some recommendations through this video. Read one of the good ones and The Space Between Worlds. Please add that to your TBR if there's anything else you add to your TBR on this list. So that is it for this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me. It's fine. We can chat, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!